Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ultimate Schmoedown Aftershow, the only show here on the Outlaw Nation, John Roca's YouTube channel that breaks down everything in the previous week movie trivia Schmoedown. My name is John Barr. I am one of your three hosts for this evening, afternoon, depending on where you're at. Tossing it on over to somebody who I believe it's like late night, early morning. I keep forgetting how time works generally, but especially anywhere else. What a weird construct we did, huh? But hey, it's Boggs. How you doing, buddy?
Yes, it is 11 p.m. So it's evening, sure. But yeah, we don't miss a show. We've covered every match this season, every week. Since the get-go, from even when we started, like a year and a half ago. So yeah, the show goes on, and pleasure to see people as usual.
Likewise, yes, the show goes on regardless of what time it is. I was up at 5:30 this morning, and I've seen 4 cockroaches today. Tossing it out over to our third host of this show, it's the incredible Soul Govin. How are you doing today, Soul?
Doing good. Boggs missed his catchphrase today.
Oh.
Which is...
What is that?
What was it? The TikTok We Don't Stop?
Oh, right. Yes. It's okay. It's a recent addition to the show, so I feel like it's fair that it's got to, pick up a little bit of steam right before the tail end of the year.
Shame on you, Bug.
Oh my God! Wow,
that's
early Sean appearance.
We're doing all good. Excited to talk about these matches. Very entertaining matches.
That's right. We got some entertaining matches, some nail-biting, mind-boggling cutscenes. We also have a wonderful guest to talk about some of these matches with. But first up, we got a couple bits of housekeeping right off the bat. First off, number one, we really appreciate anybody who watches the show. And there's a couple different ways you can support the show as well. Obviously, patreon.com/John Roca. That's the big one. It's the way that you can be a part of this Outlaw Nation and get up to all kinds of fun shenanigans that happen in this wide John Roca world, including, of course, the Outlaw Nation Trivia League, of which I've called a match in. I would not dare compete, but you can catch me, and of course, more often, Soul and Boggs over there as well. There's also Streamlabs and Super Chats that you can send us throughout the show. We always super appreciate it. Don't forget also, just liking the video, just subscribing to the channel, commenting along just in the live chat. We also super appreciate that as well. Normally, we also will have patrons come on to be a part of the show, whether through either writing in questions via Discord. That's right. Always, sir. Always. Normally, we invite patrons on either to write in Discord questions or to come on the show live to ask our guest a question. Unfortunately, we are not able to do that this week because the Barbarian, who is our wonderful, kind-hearted guest, is doing this show from his Vegas hotel room. He is fully on a vacation and has set aside some time for us, which we really appreciate because it's great. And he's going to have some wonderful insights, but there's only so much time he's going to be able to join us for. So we just want to make sure we hit talking about his matches before we let him get on with his wonderful weekend. So just know that that's going to be a thing, but know that other weeks, definitely you're going to want to be a part of the Patreon so you can get those Discords and those live your face in this little corner or that little corner next to our faces and a guest. I pitched that so well. I saw John Roca's in the chat and I got nervous. But another thing that we like to do around here, speaking of comments and things that you all write in, we also love to look at the comments y'all left underneath the episode once it was no longer live. We look back every week and see what folks said on the previous episode and talk about it this week. So, Soul, you are the keeper of those comments usually. What kind of wonderful things did the people have to say?
First, we have Jeremy Miller, who I think doesn't miss a single week. We love you, Jeremy.
He's here right now.
Awesome show with Nerd Chronic. Glad he's getting a well-deserved break, and I can't wait to see Paige in her sophomore year. And hashtag one last ride. Go Outlaw.
That's right.
We got it, baby. We got it.
Not only do we got it, we got the opponent as well, which we're going to talk about our picks for the spectacular matches at the end of the episode. So stick around because anyway, please continue.
And we have one more comment here. It's a bit of a long one here from Ben Vivian. Paige is fantastic. Very much looking forward to seeing her return next season. But regarding Rookie of the Year, I can't see myself nominating her in this rookie class if there can only be 5 nominees. Thomas Harper, 5-0, Star Wars champ. Griffin Newman, 8-0, played team's title match. Demi, 4-0, playing Star Wars title match. Amaru Moses, 3-1, played IG title match. Josh Horowitz, 6-3, team's finalist. Gold Leader, 5-2, two-time Star Wars finalist. And King Khan, 5-1, playing team's title match. All surpass her 3-3 season, in my opinion. However, beating Bateman may just be enough to push her over the line, lol.
Hey, and it's not just that she beat Bateman. It's as Soul always talks about, she really called her shot there as well. So that's, I definitely don't disagree with this commenter, though, that this is a stacked rookie year. And the fact that we are going to be trying to keep it down to 5 nominees when all is said and done is not going to be an easy feat. So that's fair. That's fair. You're a fair and just commenter. All right. Is that all of the comments that we have to look back on?
That is all the comments.
All right. Well, that is going to bring us then to the first match that we're going to talk about. And I'm actually going to then toss it right back over to you, Soul, as we talk about the first, because obviously, spoilers, gang, obviously, make sure you've watched the 3 matches that came out this week. But we have finished up this singles tournament for the year, and we're going to be talking about the 2 semifinals matches and then that big old finals match. Soul, starting with you, and the first of the semifinals matches.
So this is William Bibbiani versus Griffin Newman, and what a rough round 1 to start for both of these. I think they didn't get an answer correct until the 3rd question. Bibbiani missing 3 questions, Newman's missing 4, so ending the round 5-4 for them. Going into round 2, another bit of unluck for Griffin Newman. Stuff is going on outside. I apologize, everyone. He gets a opponent's choice. They choose Star Trek. He gets 3 of the 4 right. I actually playing along, and I've only ever seen 3 Star Trek movies, and I was able to get those 3 questions right as well. So I was like, yay, I'm just as good as Griffin Newman. Not really. And so he gets 6 out of 8 possible points. Bibbiani did steal the 1 question that he did miss. Then Bibbiani spins Drew Barrymore, very confident about it. It's like, yes, we're going Drew Barrymore. He gets 7 out of 8 possible points. Ends with Bibbiani 13, Griffin Newman 10. Round 3, Newman gets his 2 and 3. Bibbs gets his 2, misses his dodgeball 3-pointer. Makes me so sad. Nobody makes me bleed my own blood. Nobody. Bibbiani getting his 5. Newman's also getting his 5. And we end 2020 going to sudden death, baby. And it's always exciting when we go to sudden death. Both get the Dumb and Dumber quote. Nooms gets the 2019 franchise movie release date question. Bibbs says 2009, 10 years off. I'm going to throw it first to Boggs. Thoughts on this match?
Yeah, so, this was Nooms' toughest, opponent. We kind of mentioned that before, so kind of wanted to see what would happen. And, the first round just being pretty crazy, Bibbs only getting 3. Like, I thought, what's going off here? And they kind of both came back, both strong round 2s, and then it kind of just came down to the 3rd round, really. And obviously, Bibbs it was in his hands, I feel, and it just kind of just missed that 3. As unreal as it was, it's relatively straightforward. But he said he got mixed up with an older film. They said they've copied it from. Was it The Simpsons or something? I don't remember. But it was a bit of a just super unlucky for Bibbs. And then going to Son of Death, tough question to end on. But just Nooms is he's just so good. I think at this point he was like 9-0, including teams. What a player. And I did pick Bibbs to win. I just thought, this is, get someone inexperienced and stuff. This kind of latter stage, but the Finstock Exchange will not be denied, seemingly. So, unlucky for Bibbs, but hell of a match from Nooms, and the whole character thing as well. They both played good. Obviously, really hard. Particularly, like round 1 questions are harder than round 3 in these matches, seemingly. So, unfortunately, Bibbs just missed his 3. I mean, it just slipped through his fingers, and then went into Son and Death, but it's super unlucky, but it was a good match nonetheless.
The question writers definitely have been upping their game each round of the tournament game, making those questions harder and harder to be like, if you want to be the best of the best, you have to know this stuff. Throw it over to you, John. Your thoughts on this match?
I mean, first off, just over here in the chat, Travis Fishburne over of the FCL just said, just got out of Clifford the Big Red Dog and heard Griffin Newman was close to being in it. So that's a reality I feel cheated out of, certainly. But, other than that, yeah, I mean, it was a tough first round. It was interesting to see how then that second round kind of shook out as well, because it kind of helped sort of even things out a little bit, just as far as what we would expect points-wise and performance-wise from these two. Yeah, I mean, sudden death, it had to happen at least once in this singles tournament, and especially getting down to the wire like this with these really solid competitors. And yeah, Griffin Newman, so far he's got a pretty good record against the Mercs. Obviously, he's got a good record. He's 10-0 now in singles and teams, which is nuts. But specifically against the Mercs, he's doing damage against some of their biggest players. And so, considering that he's going to be going up against them again at the Spectacular for Shazam, it's going to be spicy. I don't even know what to say as far as, Nooms better study up on this, because, like, honestly, the biggest miss that I thought was egregious on his end comes in his second match that we'll be talking about later. But yeah, neither of these two can be denied as far as just strength and skill. It just came down to, at the end of the day, that one digit. That one digit wound up being the deciding factor. Forgetting about Hobbs and Shaw. Oh, how could he? How could William forget about Hobbs and Shaw? Ugh, I'm disgusted that anyone would forget about the movie where Hobbs and Shaw are together.
Fought Black Superman.
Yeah, that's right. Roman Reigns was in it?
And of course, they'll have their rematch in a couple of weeks as well. So that was a kind of interesting story thing to start. With the, like you said, you have a good record against the Quirky Mercs. So getting one up again and going into Spectacular. So it just adds the extra story element to it as well.
Yeah, because then you're going to have to start factoring on how Brendan Meyer and King Khan will wind up changing that equation as well.
Definitely. A lot to think about.
That's right. And thankfully, we're going to have a little bit of time. And by a little bit of time, I mean up until the end of this episode. So about an hour, 40 minutes. We got in a Streamlab from our dear friend Canada Rocks. Ryko, thanks so much. If Bibbs joined us here for the Outlaw Nation Patreon matches, there's no way he misses the dodgeball question. Everyone should join the Outlaw Patreon just for the league. I mean, it's a tough ask. I think sometimes to be all right, I need everybody to be a part of 4 different leagues in order to be a trivia player. But you know what? Ryko makes a great point, is that sometimes you just got to be playing the game as often as you can in order to get some of these questions down. I certainly don't think Bibbiani would object to having a route into being able to get a question like this in the future. So that's very fair.
I think Ryko's just playing to the question writer, which I'm a major question writer for the thing, and I really like that movie, so he probably would have gotten all the dodgeball questions.
There you go. Fair enough. You got to know your audience. That's fair.
Right.
I don't. What's crazy? I don't think we've been asked a single Detective Pikachu question in the whole 2 seasons since that film came out. What the hell is that all about?
But we were
Preston, let us know how you feel about that, since we know how much you love Pokemon.
I noticed that we were asked a Alvin and the Chipmunks sequel question, though.
Yes, Alvin and the Chipmunks :
I know you're a big fan of that franchise, right?
Oh, huge fan. Jason Lee, David Cross, Amy Poehler. I'm just like, who else was?
Who else do you remember?
Oh gosh, well, Justin Long played Alvin, a friend of Kevin Smith. Was it Jesse McCartney who played Theodore? It might have been Jesse McCartney who played Theodore.
I don't have the answers to your questions.
That's fair. Well, I'll tell you who had some answers to some questions, and I'm just going to gloss right over Boggs' hurtful comment as we talk about the second match briefly before our guest comes on. Jeannine the Machine of not the Suspects like I wrote in my notes. That was last year. The Stars this year going up against the Barbarian of the Finstock Exchange, still holding it down for that faction and still doing some damage. I think both Jeannine and Barbarian are high contenders for comeback player of the year, and they both proved overall in this match that they really deserve to be in that conversation. Obviously, round one, little bit tough, especially for Jeannine. A Barbarian missing 3 questions, one by just a word, confusing the days and the weeks. Whereas Jeannine missed 6 questions, which is, I think, the weakest round one we've ever seen from her. But, 2 to 5 is a close score, still coming out of round one, even if it's a little bit low. Then round 2, things got tied right back up with Barbarian struggling a little bit in the 2010s category. Only let up 1 question, which Jeannine was not able to steal, but still only finishing out the round with 4 points. Meanwhile, Jeannine got Spinner's Choice, which was huge. She stuck with Tyler Perry and got 7 of a possible 8 points, only checking down a multiple choice once. So it was 9-9 coming out of round 2. And then it came to round 3, where it just kind of went back and forth a little bit. And then, unfortunately, Jeannine was just not able to hit her 3-pointer and her 5-pointer. So the Barbarian sticking through it, getting to that well-earned W. And as much as I want to, I'm going to toss it on over to Bugs first. What were your overall thoughts on this match?
I know what you tried to do there, but I'm not going to say.
All will be clear in a moment.
John is a secret. So, just going into the first match. I mean, this match, Jeannine just getting the 2. I mean, just out of the first round and then missing 6 in a row. That's got to play on your mind going into the later, kind of later part of the match. Even in the second round, she got 1 stolen as well. So, but that just, Barbarian got 1 stolen. So it kind of kept her in it a little bit, I guess. But overall, I mean, Barbarian just seems so locked in at the minute. Like, he's not playing around. I noticed this match compared to the news match, obviously completely different match, but he was super locked in, super serious. Wanted that win clearly. To have that chance to play for the title and be in the final. But yeah, better player 1 for me on the day. Pretty stellar. Again, the Finstock Exchange will not be denied this year. They've got had points to prove, and they're doing it. And the whole dossier thing, and them being so invested in all these rookies, and Barbarian kind of being the leader of that kind of thesis, if you will, it's come through. And it was shown in this match. Play stellar. Big wins, obviously against Yama, against Brendan Meyer, current champion, former champion. Jeannine as well. Excellent run, and deserves his place in the final. So played fantastic.
Absolutely. So I'll bounce it on over to you. What were your overall thoughts on this match and the season as a whole for Jeannine and the Barbarian?
Yeah, when we were picking this match, it was really hard because love both these competitors. Barbarian is so good and doesn't get the credit he deserves for all the hard work that he puts in, and kind of he's put in hard work, was doing more IG in his first year when he's more of that singles player, and we got to really see him shine in that this year. And then Jeannine, who doesn't love Jeannine? So it was kind of like a win-win either way, whoever was going to come out of this for me. That round 1 was tough to see for both of them, because I know they both were kicking themselves. But what I love to see out of getting out of a round 1 is picking yourself back up and answering some questions and getting out of that mindset of, I just missed a bunch of these, but I need to keep going forward. And we saw that with Jeannine in round 2. She did get Spinner's Choice, but she used her Spinner's Choice and got that 7 out of 8 points, because we've seen other competitors get Spinner's Choice and not do well with it. So it was very much of a, here we go, Jeannine, you got a chance in this, so you can make a fight for Barbarian. And it was just that round 3. It's her 3 and her 5. She just didn't know it. And it was a win for Barbarian, and it was great for him, because I'm like, yes, he's getting the credit he deserves. He's getting in the finals. But it was a little sad, bittersweet in that moment, because I was like, oh, Jeannine, you've done so well this year. You've played better than you have any year. I think this is her 4th year in the Schmoedown. And I was like, oh, man, you're going to end out on not as great as a performance as all the other times. Her and Marisol, that should be part of a match of the year, because that match was phenomenal.
Absolutely. Look, you want to talk about bittersweet? Let's take a quick intermission from talking about the matches to talking about, unfortunately, I hate to say, swag, drip, drip, no more for dear Chandru Dandapani. We've been trying to theorize how it all makes sense that Paul Oyama would give up his title match for Chandru to get that final swipe at that Innergeekdom belt, and now we know that is not so much an actual thing. We got a very terse and awkward look into the swag bullpen. And we watched Chandru get very unceremoniously sliced from the faction, with first Paul coming in, going like, "No, you're an idiot, shut up," and then Winston coming in just with the ban hammer and just knocking poor Chandru out of the park. Now, look, we're fans here of Chandru. He's always been a lovely gentleman to us. He's always been wild with that inner geekdom knowledge, and he is the only person that held a belt over on the swag side of things. So it's tough to see him go in a lot of different respects, but also it kind of makes sense that Chandru's a combative guy. He's somebody that goes for the jugular when it comes to his opponents, both inside the game and sometimes even out. And I think there's also just something to that personality clash. You know what I mean? So I wanted to toss it over to you, Soul, first and foremost. Kind of what were your thoughts on this awkwardness?
Broke my heart. Because you know how much I love swag, drip, drip. And you know how much I love Chandru. And he's one of the players that I said, I will never bet against Chandru. Anytime he's up, I'm choosing him to win. Whether that's logical or not in that situation, I always go for Chandru. And so the fact that this breakup between Swag and Chandru, when they were so great last year, it's sad.
Absolutely. And what about you, Boggs? Also a big Chandru fan. Because again, we're all Chandru fans.
Of course. You know, we've got good taste, that's why. But who are the Baltimore Orioles?
They are a football team in Baltimore.
Oh, football.
American football. American football, not actual football.
Right.
Good acting from Oyama, I felt, first of all. I was like, oh, Paul, you're quite good. Like, I was quite surprised. But yeah, you know, they've what I'll say about Swag is, you know, they made some wrong decisions this year. You know, I've not been shy about what exactly as well. But you know, letting go of Chandru, you know, I know he's trouble, but he's worth it because he's a top contender, top player, top boy. But you know, if you're gonna let him go, you know, I'm sure the Finstock Exchange or someone else will snap him up.
That's correct. I'm thinking the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Orioles is baseball.
Okay. Yeah, that's something corrected. You
could have said any sport, and I'd have disagreed. So good job, we've got people in the chat watching. So
right.
Yes. Quick on that poll. Well, yeah, I mean, look, we're all Chandru fans here, and obviously he's not gone from the game just because he's out of swag. We'll just have to see exactly what all that means and what kind of shakeups, which, you know, we'll potentially see next year. Maybe even something at the Spectacular. Who knows? But
for sure,
Chandru seemed like he still had a few things to say when it came to the end of that cutscene. But here's somebody that I want to hear say some things. It is our wonderful guest who is going to be joining us for a little bit of time today. He is the ultimate movie trivia Schmoedown singles tournament finalist, one of the masterminds, perhaps arguably the mastermind of the Finstock Exchange, at least when it comes to that dang dossier. I need everybody to give it up while in their homes. I need to be able to hear you from wherever you are to make some noise for our dear, wonderful guest, The Barbarian. Hello, sir. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you. I just want to check. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, yes. Absolutely. Can you hear us?
Good. No, I can hear you. I was just, you know, the different audio setup that I normally have. So just wanted to make sure I was coming in clear before I spent 5 minutes talking to myself.
Very fair. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us from Vegas. How are you feeling? You getting some good something like a vacation in there?
It's sort of. It was I went to the University of Michigan, and college basketball team's out here for a couple games this weekend, so figured it'd be a good time to come watch them. Saw them last night. Also last night, before I went to the Michigan game, which started at 9:30 Pacific, which it's a bit boggles my mind. That was 12:30 a.m. to these people's bodies. They're having them play basketball, but they still not only won, they covered the spread. But before that, I actually had met up with a fellow Schmoedownian, one Mr. Brad Gilmore, who his promotion that he works for, Reality of Wrestling, alongside Booker T, was doing their first ever event outside of Texas at the MGM Grand here. So I went over there. Brad was kind enough to hook me up with some really nice seats, and it was a fantastic show. If you're in Texas and get a chance, Reality of Wrestling. Could not recommend more.
There you go. Reality of Wrestling. There we go. Something to check out should we ever make it over to Texas. Yeah, man. We just talked about it a little bit, but I want to toss it on over to you to talk about the first of your two matches. You were pulling double duty this week, as was Griffin Newman, your compatriot over on the Finstock Exchange. Obviously, this was a big week for people who counted out the Finstock Exchange eating a couple different crows, cooked, who knows, 10 different ways. We can figure it out. But yeah, I just want to talk about this first Jeannine match, because obviously a hard-fought match, but one that you came out with the W with. Kind of what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so that match was, I feel like a combination of two things. One, again, I can't speak for Jeannine. She'll speak for herself and her thoughts on that match. But I know for myself that I felt like the tournament schedule in general was a little grueling, just in terms of the fact that the tournament matches this year, because of the nature of the beast, were all being done on weekdays, and most of us work full-time jobs. At least some of us do. I know I do, and I know that Jeannine does as well. So I know that just between the scheduling for this ended up having to be on a day where I had a fairly busy work schedule, and I know that about that second question into the match, I realized that my brain wasn't firing on all cylinders. When it fed me 28 weeks instead of 28 days for it's a title. I've said this before, like it's a title that I definitely know. It's a movie that I saw in the movie theater, and it's been a running joke that I've done for years that the film 28 Days Later is a sequel to 28 Days. That if you don't drink alcohol for 28 days, you become a rage-fueled zombie. So that's it's a film I'm very familiar with, and the fact that in that moment my brain had me write down 28 weeks instead of 28 days. Made me realize that my brain had been a little bit fried and overworked from work, and that I was getting my wires crossed, as they say. And the analogy that I've used when talking about that match was it was like being it's like when speaking of baseball, the Baltimore Orioles, it's like when a starting pitcher goes out there and realizes early in the game that he doesn't have his best stuff, so he just basically does what they call it, guts out of, just tries to gut out a solid 5 innings to qualify for the win. And I felt like that's how I was approaching this. Specifically, for instance, talking about my second round of that match, it's even if I look at the second round, what the first thing I did when I joined the Schmoedown was make myself very familiar with all the Conan the Barbarian films. Because if I'm going in with a barbarian gimmick, I was not going to miss any barbarian questions. So I obviously knew that Jason Momoa, Conan the Barbarian question. But in that moment, at hearing the question, my brain says Conan the Barbarian, and I'm just so exhausted at that point that I started questioning myself. Did they use the same full title, or did they just call it Conan? And I was just so I was so untrusting in my mental capabilities at that point that I said I just need to go to multiple choice to guarantee the 1 point, because a 2-point steal in that situation, if I said the wrong thing and she ends up responding with the correct answer, would have been devastating. So that's why I checked down to 1 on that. But again, it's just another example of my brain not firing off. My answer to the Psycho question, Psycho 4, it's a movie. It's a TV movie, and I know it's a TV movie. And even in that state, when I was writing it down, my brain had the thought of, wait, isn't that a TV movie? But I was just, I didn't have my best stuff that night. And again, I feel like while I can't speak for Jeannine, one thing that I would point to, maybe some of the same like fatigue affecting her in her round would be the Leslie Mann question, because she even said that she knew who it was, but just could not pull the name of the instant. And to me, I feel like that's just a sign of like mental fatigue from, and I will say, it's like if you look at all four of us in our semifinals match, 5-4, 5-2. That's I think that just speaks more to how exhausting a tournament like this is, and that we were all, I'd say we're all fairly even competitors, the four of us.
Yeah, it's just a testament to how strong all four of you are as well, to be able to make it to that point, to be able to get as many wins as y'all were able to get to lead up to this point. And yeah, I mean, obviously, brain farts happen. Sometimes getting the answer almost correct still proves that you know your stuff. And yeah, at the end of the day, 28 days, 28 weeks doesn't really matter. You're still a faction with 28 plus wins. So I guess there's always that. Not
to toot my own horn. Actually, no, I will toot our horn. I was just looking at the faction standings today. Do you realize that the second best team, it's not the second best team, but the team with the second best win-loss record is 23-20. They've won 3 more matches than they've lost. We have won 19 more matches than we've lost.
Oof.
Yeah.
Our win differential is higher than some teams' win total. So we knew we had something special when we put this team together, and they've all shown out, and we've all told each other time and time again how proud we are of each other, and it's really a testament to the types of people we drafted. And a lot's been made about the dossier. You guys spoke about the dossier earlier. And one thing I'll say is, while I did the scouting, it was, John Roca and Tom Dagnino who told me what to look for. And what we were looking for wasn't just people with good trivia minds. It was people who had good trivia minds and were willing to improve and were willing to contribute to helping their faction mates improve. And, and every single person that we selected in the draft fit that mold. And our success is just a result of the collaboration that all 12 of these people have done together for this whole season.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a family affair in a lot of ways, I think, where it's just everybody building each other up. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So I want to toss it on over to you before we talk about this second match. Are there any final thoughts or questions you have for the Barbarian on this Jeannine match?
Well, it's just a question in general. The way everyone was acting, and we even had Roca on in previous weeks speaking up to this, the way everyone talked about the dossier and the Finstock Exchange at the beginning of the year, does it feel like just sweet, relief that it worked out in your guys' favor, that you guys were able to show up to everyone, be like, look at the squad we created, and look at how much we're winning, and look at how much I think regardless of points, just the win differential in total, that says something about this faction and how you guys have worked together. And the fact that we're not hearing as much people that were talking at the very beginning of the year about the Finstock Exchange and now at the end of the year.
I mean, when I wouldn't say it was a sense of relief, because we knew how good these people were. But it was like, just because nobody else knew how good our team was didn't mean that we didn't know how good these people were. We went through painstaking lengths to make sure we selected a really good crop of talent. And so I would say even in the day of, we were annoyed and frustrated at just kind of the outpouring of vitriol people had towards our draft. But we also didn't second guess what we did at all. We were just annoyed that nobody else could see how how great we were in that moment. So, but we knew we would eventually show them.
Talking like a true champ.
There you go. Boggs, I'll toss it on over to you. Do you have any questions before you, dear sir, take on the Herculean task of breaking down this 5-rounder tournament final match?
Of course, absolutely. So, first of all, Barbarian, what's the deal with this selling of the dossier at Spectacular? Is it going to be raffled off? Are you all signing it? I think people want to know. People need to get their hands on it. Players and managers need to get their hands on it of how to do a real draft. But actually, I want to know from all the Finstock Exchange, who's come on the most? From who you drafted. Was there anyone you thought maybe you took a bit of a punt on, bit of a gamble on, to where they are now? Who's kind of impressed you the most in terms of taking, whether it's improved so much with the character work or as a player or as helping out the team? Who's the kind of most improved players within the faction?
I mean, I will say, I feel like that's a couple different questions there. I will say that in terms of who impressed me the most, I think was Gold Leader, because the draft prep we did for our Star Wars players was a little bit different than for the other players. I didn't feel qualified to evaluate their talent level by quizzing them, because I feel like I would have been impressed by all of them. I was like, oh my God, you know all this random stuff about Star Wars that I didn't even know existed. You must be a genius, So we were going up other factors with that. We felt confident in Gold Leader when we chose him based on all the information we had. But even being that confident, the way he just came out of the gates and just crushed skulls and made it to the finals in both tournaments, that was, I feel like he even outshone his second round draft position with how amazing he played. But then in terms of most improved throughout the year, I would put this as a tie really between the two players who really didn't get more matches, needed more matches, which are the Rager Rick Radis and Brother Lomas. And both of them were players who I think you can tell they came with built-in gimmicks. These two have two of the best characters in the entire Schmoedown, not even just out of the rookie class, but Brother Lomas cuts WWE level promos. He is a genius on the mic, and the Rick Radis is just so fast and so quick-witted that it's like they were. It was a note. We were shocked. Honestly, we were shocked they were still available at the 5th and 6th rounds. And all the mock-ups we did, we'd assumed those two were both going to get taken in the first 3 rounds. So the fact that they were available in rounds 5 and 6, it was shocking. But again, in terms of talking about most improved, these are in addition to their character work, we were also impressed by how intent these two were on improving their trivia skills, and they followed through and then some throughout the entire season, both of them. And look, Rager is having an undefeated season. He's 3-0, and I will say, I think everyone noticed that very embarrassing gaffe in his match with Meg Ryan, the Kate and Leopold. It's if that film Restoration that he described, if you only listen to the first 3 words of what the announcer said, that is a film that could come to mind that stars Meg Ryan. And he just got ahead of himself and didn't listen to the whole question. As soon as he heard that, he's like, all right, it's going to be Restoration. He was so excited. You can tell. He says it with such confidence, and it just takes the wind out of the entire room. I was like, what? But again, it came from him. It was from him having too much knowledge, not having not enough knowledge. He knows Kate and Leopold. Trust me. But yeah, no, he really impressed me throughout the season with as much work he put in and just his growth, and same with Brother Lomas, and I'm very excited for their futures in the Schmoedown.
And yeah, so what's the deal with the dossier then? Are you just going to carry it around with you? Is it going to be locked away, or any chance?
That's that's up to contact Dino. So he it's property that he commissioned. It's property that was created for him, so it's his property, and I cannot speak to what specifically he plans to do with it.
Okay, and then going into your match, obviously the final of the singles tournament, first 5-rounder for yourself. Started off fantastic, obviously perfect round. You did miss your bonus, of course. Nooms did miss the
those were
second question.
I will say, there's some questions where it's like, you know what, I'm fine with not knowing that. It's like, I'm fine with not knowing which actor was in both Alvin and the Chipmunks, The Squeakle, and Big Mama's House 2. I'm fine with not knowing that.
I want to ask John, because John, you are a huge fan, obviously, of the Alvin and the Chipmunks franchise, of course. Did you know that one by any chance?
Is that my rep now? Is that my reputation? And no, I did not. I probably would have just wound up guessing like David Cross if I had been put in that situation. Like I don't know.
Okay, and then
Jason Lee is in the
Yeah, exactly. It's just like I know one guy who was in one of those.
And then going into
I was assuming Martin Lawrence didn't do it.
Yeah, also fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, going into the second round, Barbarian, obviously you did spin off Lucasfilm first, then you stuck on 2010s. Didn't go perfect. You did miss one, obviously, which Nooms stole, the Truth or Dare movie, I believe. And Nooms went second, spun off Hitchcock, landed on Eddie Murphy. He also didn't go perfect. You got that big 2-point steal, which you ended the second round 15-12. So I want to know your thoughts on at this point of the match on the steals, having such a big lead as well at this point, 3 points, which should increase more as the match went on.
Yeah, so I will say this. Part of me wonders how this match would have turned out if I would have stuck on Lucasfilm, because I'm actually very comfortable with Lucasfilm. I'm familiar with their entire filmography, not just the Star Wars films and the Indiana Jones films. If I was going up against any other player other than Griffin, I may have stuck with it. But just because he is an encyclopedia of George Lucas knowledge, so I just wasn't going to take that risk of it being something deep cut that I wouldn't know that he would get when there were so many other categories on the wheel that I liked. 2010s and Fury is a category that I'm excited about. I mean, it was so recent, I know the movies that came out then, right? But I know in my match against Jeannine, I'd also gotten that, and the questions were significantly harder than I expected. So these questions I had similar difficulty with as in the first one, although there were two that I knew for 2 points. And the third one, the Truth or Dare question, it's funny that I honestly forgot that film existed. I looked at the poster after, was like, oh yeah, that movie. And when it came to that multiple choice, I was just simply trying to take an educated guess off of the context clues, and I could name you. I knew it was going to be Chloe Grace Moretz because they wouldn't have the same answer twice in the same round. At least that was my assumption. So I ruled her out. And then of the others, I think, okay, Lucy Hale was just in Fantasy Island, and the Tyson Farmiga is in The Nun. And so I'm thinking, okay, so that's why they're on the list, because they're in those horror things. So it must be Joey King. And I was wrong. And then so that movie I forgot had existed. The other question, the Woman in Black, I did not know that movie existed. I didn't forget that. I had no idea they made a sequel to that film. But when it came down to the multiple choice for that one, two of the franchises they named, I know all the titles of all the films. Like for Sinister, there's just Sinister and Sinister 2. They have no subtitles. I forget what the second one was. If you guys recall, let me know. But I just know it was another franchise that I knew all the titles for. So I knew
was it
that.
like Ouija?
No. Wait, was it Ouija? Yeah, it was Ouija. It was Ouija. So Ouija and Ouija Origin of Evil are those two titles. And then the third one, it was between VHS and The Woman in Black. And I was pretty sure that VHS sequel is probably just called VHS 2, but also, the funny thing was, my initial thought hearing that before I think that's when I had them repeat the options on. I didn't have them repeat the options because I already did that the one before. But my initial thought when I heard those options was, well, it's not Lady in Black because there wasn't a sequel to that. But when I narrowed it down to the Lady in Black and VHS, I was like, all right. The title VHS 2, Angel of Death, sounds ridiculous, whereas the Woman in Black 2, Angel of Death, sounds natural. So, again, an educated guess, unfortunately, is correct. With his round, pardon?
No,
Also,
go
with
ahead.
his round two, I think he just overthought things. Like, he's an animation guy. I don't know if you've noticed from his Pixar thing, but but again, and it's another one of those instances where having too much knowledge can be bad for you. Just similar to well, not bad, but it can hurt you in certain instances. He knew that Shrek Forever After spent so much time basically taking moments from the original film and turning it on its head that he thought this was a trick question. he thought, well, it's clearly not Shrek because that would be too obvious of an answer for this, and they've really made these questions hard. This is a trick to get me to say Shrek Forever After, and it's just So I honestly feel that I got fortunate with that, because if he hadn't overthought it, I feel like most people would have said the answer Shrek, right?
Mhm.
I feel like that's one of those questions that most people would get. He just thought it was a tricky question, not that it was just as simple and odd as it was.
Yeah,
But
he kept
he is,
pointing to his head
yeah.
saying overthought. Like he kept mouthing that over
Yeah.
and over, and I'm like, oh, don't let that get to you. Keep going.
Yep. Yeah, then he overthought the last one as well. So it's it was I will say I was surprised when he landed on Eddie Murphy. I assumed he was going to get 8 points. So I was surprised at that point that I came out of the round with the lead, because when it was his turn, I had a 5-point lead. So he landed on Eddie Murphy, and I said to myself, okay, I'm going to be down 3 points after this. But did not turn out that way, which is good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then, we do have to get through this match because obviously we haven't got you for too much longer. So going into the third, obviously you both landed on Hitchcock. You betted 3, he betted 2. Obviously, you did give an explanation at the end of the match. You
only bet 1.
Oh, sorry, you only bet 1, correct. You've been kind of sitting down with Hitchcock a little bit through the pandemic and stuff, so that was interesting. Such a big lead, though, 20-13. I wanted to know your thoughts at this point. Did you kind of see the end in sight or anything along them lines by any chance?
So, yeah, as I said, one of the things that you don't get that they didn't actually air, when we filmed that, when it came time to pick numbers, I was in the lead, so I went first, and I really wish they would have kept this in. Gucci asked me, he's like, so what do you think? And I said, I'm going to bet 3. And then Alice was like, you don't want to bet Apple? So there was a really fun interchange, and then, I knew that Griffin had spun away from it the round before, so I assumed he wasn't as familiar with it as I was. And he wasn't as confident, in it. So, and that turned out to be the case. I did bet the 3 that I claimed. My plan going in, by the way, was no matter what category I landed on, I was going to say I'm betting 3. I don't know if I was going to bet 3 on other categories, but I was going to say I'm betting 3. But I was really disappointed that. I was really disappointed when seeing the final cut of the match that they did not include that moment in, because it was probably the funniest exchange of the match. Because not only that, but then when it was Griffin's turn, he's like, "Oh, I'm not going to bet. I'm not going to tell him. And when we're supposed to enter the numbers in at the same time, he's like, "All right, on the count of 3, you're going to enter his." Oh, and the Barbarian already entered his number. And so it was a really good comedic moment in the middle of a very tense, serious match, and it was a lot of fun. And I really wish it would have made it to the air, but it did not.
Yeah, and then going into the next round. Sorry, I think I said 20-13, but it was actually 18-13, right? And then the kind of biggest
5-point lead,
yeah. And then the kind of big fourth round here, which of course most people watching will probably want to hear your thoughts on. Noom's obviously getting 7. you just getting the overall, obviously just leading, just having the 1 point, and then obviously the huge swing happened where you were down 2019. And as you addressed as well during the match, that if you did get the Sally Field question, you would have actually had the lead as opposed to just pronouncing one additional. Because when you said it, I thought, oh, was her name Sally Fields? Oh, okay. And then obviously they addressed it afterwards, so that was kind of really weird to see. But please tell me your thoughts on, because you visibly looked upset, like yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I will say I was. So I knew how good Griffin was going to be in the speed round. So I knew he had a chance to catch up, but I knew that the game, I knew that I know that Griffin is so good that it doesn't matter where you are in the game, he can always catch you, right? And so I had practiced the speed rounds quite a bit before this. I knew that in the teams, we're on the same faction, so I knew that he'd gone perfect in his half of the teams. I suspected he'd do really well. From my experience watching previous speed rounds and from the practice I was doing, the plan of attack that I came up with was to only say the answer if I knew it immediately, and if not, to pass, and then I would come back around and have had time to come up with the answer by the time it got back to me. However, as I indicated in the post-match, this ended up backfiring on me because A, there were more questions that I did not immediately know the answers to than I had expected, and B, the questions were read, significantly more slowly than I had expected them to. And I think part of that is when you're, doing these speed rounds with your faction mates and friends, there's a tendency to read them fast. And so, but also it's shocking to me that I passed immediately on 5 different questions and still didn't get the chance to re-answer any of them. And I think that has to do with possibly the word length of some of the questions. And there's no there's no rule saying that they need to be less wordy. It's just that they were longer than I expected them to be. And then in terms of so those weren't a matter of not knowing the answer as much as I wasn't trying to pull answers in the moment. I was just going with the immediate responses. And yeah, if I had just been trying to figure out the answers, I would have gotten River Phoenix, I would have gotten Curious George, Famke Janssen I did get, Zemeckis I did get. The Frailty release date, I know there were 2 other films, that one bugs me because in my mind when they said it, 2 years came up, and I think it was just a matter of because I'd passed on so many questions at that point that I decided to say one of them, even though in the moment I wasn't sure it was the answer, and as soon as I said, wait, no, that's too late, it was 2001. And so that one I knew I'd gotten wrong. The Sally Fields thing, I know her last name's Sally Field. When I said it, I realized in the instance that I had added an S accidentally. I'm not sure why. There's Mrs. Fields Cookies. There's Justin Fields the quarterback. So I'm assuming there's many more prevalent things of Fields in my mind than that, which is probably why in my rush I accidentally added the S on. It is frustrating that in a season where things like Raya the Last Dragon, Tartuga, and Rowdy McDowell were awarded points, that I would not be awarded points for something as slight as that. But at the same time, I have also been, somewhat of a proponent of not awarding points for those examples. So I feel like it's more frustrating that those other matches had wrong answers credited points. Again, I'm more of a proponent of only give points for correct answers, and I will concede that was not the correct answer, as frustrating as it may have been. I joked afterwards that when I said when I realized I'd added the S, that I should have said Sally Fields the right answer. Just add the apostrophe in there to make it possessive, but that didn't work out. But yeah,
Tough.
it was really just a matter of me thinking that I'd have time to answer the questions I was passing on afterwards and not getting to it, and then just starting to things just really unraveled. And it's one of those things where it's like I could say, well, don't worry, I know what to practice on to work for the next one. But this was literally the last ever fast money speed round that you will ever see in a singles match. So I can at least take solace in the fact that I won't have to worry about playing this kind of round ever again. It's it was just very frustrating that this match I basically had I had in my grasp, and the strategy I devised for that round backfired in such a horrific fashion that it essentially cost me the game.
I mean, I definitely think to a certain extent, and this is a luxury we have as commentators, but I certainly think from a commentator's perspective, you're being hard on yourself, which is fair, as the player that was close. But we were talking in our little group chat where I was like, this is still your sophomore season, man. And I feel like that's something that's been brought up more and more, where it's like, I know for a fact you're going to be getting right back to that same spot, if not next year, then the year after, because you're simply too good for this to have been your last shot. Like, we know that you're going to be back there. And hey, as much as that Sally Fields thing might hang over you, I gotta also say you handled it with much more grace and poise than Kevin Smith and his weird little gaffe did in that Marisol McKee match. So you should at least take that with you as well.
I mean, even though I poked some fun at Kevin Smith in my match against Brendan, I am a huge fan of his and would never disparage his name.
Oh, of course, certainly. I do have to ask, because it is 4:01, if you have to go ahead and dip out.
No, we can keep going. Yeah, we're watching a football game in the other room, but it's fine. It's a blowout. Michigan's blowing out Maryland, so it's fine.
Hey, go blue. Fair enough. Boggs, do we want to break down this final round?
Yeah, of course. But yeah, if I can just comment on that fourth round, Barbarian. If it is the last singles match, digital match, it was heartbreaking. Like, as a neutral, just as a viewer, me and people probably around the world was absolutely gutted for you. I'll be honest. So being the better player, the leader of this team, and just watching it unfold like that was heartbreaking. So I don't know if that's a compliment in any way.
No, I appreciate it. I don't think it's fair to call either he or I the better player. I think we're both evenly matched opponents. And one other thing that I'll add, though, just in terms of the digital age, one of the themes of this whole tournament has been how bad my internet's been at my home. And rewatching that speed round back afterwards, I could see the delay in there was a lag between me hearing the questions answered. So the ones that I answered and the ones that I passed immediately, I'm literally losing seconds on those because of how bad my internet is. And it's just Spectrum cost me that match.
Pitchforks at Spectrum headquarters.
Yeah.
Right, and then going into the last round, obviously you were 1 point behind, so you go first to get your 2 and your 3. Obviously, the Jason Statham and the John Q question. Obviously, Noom's got his 2 and his 3 as well, Silverado and Little Shop of Horrors. You obviously missed the 5. You did answer super confidently, though. We want to know your thoughts behind that as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, I really wish I would have taken more time on that, because that is an answer that I knew. I'd learned, and it was something. It was just a fact that I had learned earlier in the year that the pigeon lady in Home Alone 2 was the old actress who won an Oscar in the 80s, Brenda Fricker. However, in the moment, my mind had really just coded as, oh yeah, this is an old lady who won an Oscar in the 80s, and I didn't. What I almost did and should have done was take my time and list out all the Oscar-winning actresses from the 80s. But my brain, I just wasn't. I wasn't in the right state of mind to think through it as clearly as I should have. And I latched on to Geraldine Page very quickly. She won Best Actress in 1985 for A Trip to Bountiful. And she's someone whose name comes up for me in films a lot more frequently than Brenda Fricker. So when I started going through that question, I landed on Geraldine Page very quickly and didn't do my due diligence to vet the answer as I normally would have. I should have used my JTE and I should have thought it through more. Now, I can't definitively say that I would have identified Brenda Fricker as the correct answer, but I can definitively say that I was conflicted enough about Geraldine Page, despite having a good feeling about it, that I shouldn't have answered when I did. And yeah, but I was, despite being conflicted, because it also felt so right in the moment, and when I landed on it, it was just, I decided to go with. I thought I had arrived at the correct answer, as you can see in the way I deliver it. And if I had taken my time, I may have pulled the real correct answer instead of the wrong one.
So I'll ask my last question before I throw it to the guys. But was it like for you, because obviously a bit conflicted, because your teammate did has got the title shot now, so it is points for you guys. Was it a bit of a rough night's sleep that night, because it was a title shot that slipped through your fingers? So yeah, how was that after the fact?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, the way the match unfolded, I feel like it was a bit traumatic for me. It was, just like, having such an embarrassing flub in break and strategy after having such a lead, like, blowing it, that's, it's, it has, great feelings of shame and regret. And, I know how my brain handles those things, so I took steps to avoid encountering them. That's all I'll say, is that it was definitely something that it took me about a week to like process and work through and get over. Now I can joke about all the things, but in the moment it was, did take some time to, process the, the disappointment, the shame, the regret of dropping, of dropping the ball at the end there.
No shame in it, man. It's the like John was saying, it's your sophomore year. So first 5-rounder. Got the strategy wrong, which mean that you lost the match due to that. But it's a learning experience, right? Next time, hopefully that won't happen, and you might get the right result. But everyone's got faith in you, man. But I'm going to throw it to Sol. Not heard your thoughts on match. Thoughts on how it went down. Thoughts on the 4th round, if you like, and any kind of questions for the Barbarian.
But first, going to the Brenda Fricker thing, the only reason I knew that is patreon.com/John Roca, and one of those Patreon hangouts, he was saying, I learned something new in one of the Finstock Exchange study sessions, and he told us about that. And then, so when I heard that question, I was like, Barbarian knows this because we talked about it in a Patreon hangout. And then when you answered incorrectly, I was like, oh no. So that was basically where mine was at the end.
Yeah. I mean, if rewatch the match, you can see it in my eyes that as soon as they say the question, I open my eyes and I'm like, I know this answer. And then I start to think, but exactly. Like I said, it was something that I learned earlier this year. And it was, it's just, it's frustrating. But the most frustrating thing is missing questions that I know the answers to. That's really the most frustrating thing. In this match, I knew 2001 for Frailty. I knew Sally Field, not Sally Fields. I knew the answers to, I knew definitively the answers to at least 3 of the speedrun questions that I passed on. And I knew, and I knew the Brenda Fricker thing. So it's like missing questions on information that I have in my brain is something that I don't usually do. And it's very frustrating when that happens. It's another thing to miss a question on information you don't have in your brain. It's not there to be pulled. But when you have the information there and you can't pull it, it tugs at you.
And now that this is the end of your season this year, What's next for the Barbarian? Are you going to relax a little bit? Are you going to hit hard on the paint and get back to it next year? What's the plans for the Barbarian?
I mean, look, first off, the season isn't over. I'm helping prep Roca and Griffin and Khan for these 3 matches that we have at Spectacular. We have the lead for that faction title, and my goal this season, coming into my stated goal this entire season, has been to win that faction title. I opened the year focusing way more on prepping my fellow teammates than on prepping myself and building the infrastructure that we had to make sure that we could be successful as a team, and that the fact that that's paying off right now, it gives me solace. Even losing this match, the fact that in every single match I played in that tournament, the Finstock Exchange earned points is a point of pride for me, even having lost the championship round to the finals. But yeah, and then in terms of that, no, I've already started studying for next year. I never stopped studying, but and when I say studying, a lot of my studying is watching movies. So, had gotten a couple shipments of new Blu-rays in from Best Buy, things for new categories that are coming out next year of films I haven't seen yet. And yeah, it's, I'm just going and going. But as far as other than, just watching movies and learning information about them, focused solely on winning that faction title and making sure that King Khan, Griffin Newman, and the Outlaw are good to go.
And final question here: how many Blu-rays would you say that you own now?
A lot. JTE and I have have a running discussion on which one of us owns more. I'm pretty confident that I do. I just haven't gotten around to counting, so I'll count them soon. But we'll just say during the pandemic, I bought 3 new racks to add DVDs to, or Blu-rays to. Those are all full, plus there's a different shelving unit that I've taken up, used a whole row for, and then I've got probably at least 2 more rows that are unsorted that I just need to, organize at some point. But yeah, in total, it's somewhere in the thousands, I'm sure.
Movie night at the Barbarians.
Yeah.
I agree with Aaron in the chat there. Keep living that dream. So a world of a movie every day. # true heaven. But before I throw it to John, Barbarian, we're doing IG next year as well with teams as well. Obviously, you didn't play teams this year, but how you are with your whole faction, I'm sure that you're probably chomping at the bit to get in teams as well. So what's the plan next year?
I mean, I can't really speak to that because of we'll all find out what the DNA of next year is going to look like at Spectacular. So we know that we're trying to avoid the fact that our family that we've built this year is going to get broken apart because the factions are going to be shrunk from 12 people to 5. So that means 7 people that are on the faction this year won't be on it next year, at least 7. And we don't want to think about losing our family just yet. We want to focus on the fact that we are a family right now, and we're going to win this season as a family, as we've made our goal the entire season.
And IG, is that a or can you not kind of say that?
Well, I'm still waiting to hear because there's the whole notion, the notion of each faction gets, 1 IG player, and I don't know if that means if I want to play IG that I'd have to be solely IG. So again, I'm still waiting to hear on, how everything's going to be working out. So I'm definitely open to returning to Innergeekdom. I have, compiled thousands and thousands of notes on Innergeekdom films. I have detailed notes on the 300 films that we had in the category this year, and I'm assuming we're going to be adding even more next year. I think it was even officially announced by PJ in one of the episodes of Backstage. So it's I'm definitely open. I do want to play in all 3 divisions if possible. it's increasingly frustrating for me that I haven't been able to play in teams yet. But again, it's no one's fault. It's just confluence of circumstances. And I've had at this point, I've had 5 teammates at various points over the Schmoedown, my Schmoedown career, and have never played a teams match yet. So it's I'm hopeful someday. I'd love to play the team.
We shall see. We shall see. Exciting times. But John, please give us your thoughts on what happened. 4th round as well. I mean, that seems to be the most kind of controversial point in the match. But yeah, please, overall thoughts and questions for the Barbarian.
Yeah, I mean, overall thoughts on the match. It just goes to show, like, it's something I've been talking about. It does feel weird to say, considering that you are a sophomore player, but again, kind of like that old blood versus new blood type thing of like seeing some of the folks that I think we associate with that kind of old school mindset versus just the absurd rookie class that we had this year in particular. It was just incredible to see kind of like what felt like 2 different worlds coming together while also being like the same faction, something that we hadn't seen since last year with Corruption and they're running the Innergeekdom tournament. It's a crazy thing to see, I mean, again, I'm always going to be one of those people that are like, please don't be too hard on yourself. We enjoyed the match and we know that you're going to be back stronger than ever when it comes to it. So at the end of the day, we know you've got good things ahead of you, but Griffin Newman, obviously, just this is his year. This was his year to be the rookie phenom with 10 dang wins under his belt. Yeah, man. And then I also wanted to ask. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I'll say I was somewhat conflicted going into the match because as much as I wanted to win and as much as I wanted headline spectacular, I did know how much that streak, his winning streak, means to him, and I would feel bad, like. I wasn't going into that match being like, I'm going to be the one that ends his winning streak. It's like, no, he's my friend. And like, I've been cheering on the winning streak the entire time. I don't want to end it, but I also wanted to win for my sake and, for the sake of my faction. If I can, carry the fact, if I could have gone into spectacular, carrying my faction on my back, knowing that if I won my match, we win the faction title, that would have been a something that I would have done with great pride. But at any rate, sorry, but I just wanted to jump in about Griffin there, but
Absolutely, yeah. No need to apologize. And I mean, similarly, we heard a lot from Griffin on that kind of like same beat in his postgame where he was just talking about how much like he really cared about you and about the Finstock Exchange as a family and how much that match in particular was like so hard to play and how it makes him all the more excited to be going up against people not in his faction for the spectacular matches. But I kind of wanted to ask you as we round out this little portion here of the show, if there's one thing in particular you could point to next year being something that you are the most excited for, regardless of like what the faction setup is, regardless necessarily of like any specific like division that you may or may not be playing in. If there's one thing that you're like, I really want to do like or get to this point, whether it be again a shot at the singles title or whether it be something else, what is the one thing you're most looking forward to potentially for next year?
I mean, definitely getting my shot for the singles title early next year. I know I'm going to have to earn it. I don't know if Christian seemed to indicate at the end of my Jeannine match or that whoever loses this match against Griffin would whoever lost in the tournament finals would get a number 1 contenders match early next year. I don't know if that was actually the case or if it was just I don't know if I'm gonna have to play a match before that or not. But either way, I know I've earned my spot significantly higher up on the ladder than I had this past year. And I feel very excited to take on the challenge. The other thing I'm very excited about is just these new categories we have coming in next year. I'm not going to say which specific ones excite me other than that some of them are topics that I'm already very familiar with and feel like I may be one of the best versed in the Schmoedown in. And others are ones that I'm less familiar with, but I'm excited to learn about. Because one of the things that I've said is that the Schmoedown is a better film education than most colleges offer. If you're playing in the Schmoedown, like I almost see every year as a syllabus. Like this year, we're learning about Akira Kurosawa. and Antonio Banderas, which in this mind meant that so much of his career was Spanish language films with Pedro Almodovar, which is I had actually sorry I'm going down a rabbit hole, but one of my favorite films of 2019 was Pedro Almodovar's Pain and Glory, for which Banderas
So good.
received his first ever. Yeah, it's fantastic. I think it was like my number 3 film of the year that year, and so I was just excited to get to dive deeper into his collaborations with Almodovar and whatnot. And again, yeah, so each year it's like the things that we're asked to focus on. I just feel like I'm just like it's such a joy to get to experience these amazing films that I had not known as much about before. Maybe like I knew about them, but hadn't seen them yet, and all this. So it's just an amazing education. I'm looking forward to just expanding my knowledge even more next year.
Hell yeah, man. And we're excited to see you next year as well, because we know, regardless of what this whole faction shakeup is, we know we're going to be seeing more of you, and it will not be long before you're back in that title environment. That we can be certain of. Thank you so much, dude, for spending a chunk of your Saturday with us here, especially when you're out in Vegas with the Michigan fam. Go Blue once again. I wanted to ask really quickly if there's anything you'd like to plug.
Yeah, I mean, my Twitter is Barbarian Craig. You can find me on there. You can find me on look, he's got my Twitter right there. You can find me on Instagram at CF C is in Craig, F is in Frank, Gagnier is in the French word to win, Gaynier, because all I do is win despite this past match. And and then you can catch me live in person at the Schmoedown Spectacular that first Saturday of December, the 4th.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So looking forward to that. And somebody suggested earlier today that perhaps I should carry both Khan and Griffin Newman to the stage for the King Arthur match. I think that would be quite the feat. Just put one on each shoulder and just like walk them out there. I think I could do it.
They'd have to give you a belt for that. 100%.
I mean, I feel like I'd have to have like one of those like weightlifting belts that you used to wear at the gym, but a belt or a girdle, something like that.
They need to decorate it though. If they give you the weightlifting belt, they need to decorate it with like some Schmoedown paraphernalia.
Yeah, Finstock Exchange. You kidding me? It's Finstock Exchange lifting belt. That's what I need.
There you go. All right, man. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you, man. You're an absolute delight every single time, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your Saturday.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I want to plug one more thing. This past week, I actually was a guest on a podcast called Film on Tap. It's a new podcast started by Tom Chattelbash, who is both a FCL competitor as well as a film writer. When I say film writer, he writes about film for various websites and film reviews. It's him as well as Andres Gallegos, who is also an FCL competitor, and then Nancy Rodriguez, who's aka Sister Chronic, and we have the four of us had a great time breaking down the Eternals and just talking about film in general. So I would encourage people to go check that out and to subscribe to the Film on Tap feed for both the podcast as well as for their YouTube channel.
There we go. And
one last question, because I asked Roka last week. Tell me your 5 rookies of the year, because it's super hard to pick. There's so many of them. Obviously, we've got you mentioned King Arthur, you mentioned Nooms there. Just 5. Who are your nominations for rookies of the year? Sorry, John. I got to ask. I got to know.
I mean, the diplomatic thing to say would be it's a tie between in draft order Downtown Griffin Newman, Gold Leader, the Moose Haas, the Tyrant, Brother Lomas, the Rage Rick Radis, King Khan. That would be my go-to answer. I'd say as of right now, Griffin Newman it should be in the conversation for Player of the Year. He should be the front runner for Player of the Year, not even just front runner for Rookie of the Year. I don't, I think that Thomas Harper and Mickey DeBelanta both having undefeated rookie seasons thus far has been pretty impressive. I'd like to throw out the Rager of the Year, Rager Rick Redis, undefeated, 3-0, and the best character, some of the best character work in the Schmoedown. And then, of course, King Khan, who is, won the team's tournament. Went from being someone who, on draft day, people thought Gucci was making something up, to having a title match at Spectacular. That is a goddamn Cinderella story. And King Khan deserves all the respect in the world for what he's done and what he will continue to do in this league.
I'd agree with that 100%.
Hey, I got a second person that says Rick Radis, because people saying that I'm crazy that I have Rick Radis on my top 5 for
the undefeated Rager Rick Radis? The undefeated Rager Rick Radis. People are just like, not only that, he's undefeated. Undefeated, undefeatable. Rager Rick Radis.
He's gonna headline a live show one day. That's what I think.
Oh, easily.
Yeah, don't worry. You should wait. Just wait until Spectacular. He's gonna be there. That's all I'll say. The Rager will be at Spectacular. That's all I'll say.
All right, well,
whether he'll be on stage or on camera, I don't know, but he's gonna be there. He's flying in.
Sir.
That's what I know.
He'll be headlining in his
for
mind.
Rager of the Year. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, the man's undefeated. Why wouldn't he be at Spectacular?
Sir, hey, fair enough. All right, dude. Well, thank you so much. We'll let you get back to your Vegas outing. You have a wonderful rest of your day, dude.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. Yes. Bye.
Thanks so much.
See you, man. Oh, my gosh. What a gem.
I had one more question, John, but I didn't want to.
He's a busy man, you know?
Yeah.
Listen, if I told the patrons they can't ask any questions, I got to limit you too, Bugs. It's only fair. I am the conductor.
Totally fine.
But also because we still have a hefty discussion ahead of us, gang. We still have our own big things that we got to think about that hopefully we've thought about it, because we got 5 huge matches to talk about, that being the 5 matches that make up this Schmoedown Spectacular card. Sean, our lovely producer, if and when you are able to, go on ahead, join us on screen as we look at these. Oh, I just heard it. Somebody just had an idea of.
Sorry, my notifications are really loud. Sorry.
It's all right. Don't worry about it. I'm keeping us on track as hot as I can.
Doing a good job.
Look at I do okay. Let's start with maybe the easiest match to talk about. It's not a title match.
Well, hang on. I know Soul is going to want to read our standings.
Of course. I keep forgetting because I keep just knowing that I'm at the bottom. So I just say, how much do we have to talk about? But you're right. We do have rankings for our picks. And these are the big ones, gang.
And I'm very happy about this week. I'm very happy about... John, you and I went perfect this week.
Is that true?
Yeah.
How about that?
But
I blacked out making my pick, so that's good.
But Mike in last with 37 points. John with 90 points. You made it to the 90s, John. And
gonna be playing with Nickelodeon goo with slime. That's what it's called.
And moon shoes. Myself and Sean tied 97 points. I have made it to Sean. My goal of beating him. I'm this close.
It's a possibility. It's X-Men 97.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. And then Bugs with 101.
No.
This
I'm saying there's a chance for me to win. There's a chance for me to still get 11 points, right? There's 11 matches that I could get all right and Bugs could get all
if we're doing some exotics, maybe, but that's not gonna happen.
Are we gonna start betting on the Patreon matches as well? That's how John can win.
No.
Goodness no. But we do have 5 matches to talk about. Now, as we get into the first match, and this one, people are going to call us biased. We got to talk about it as unbiased as we can. Dan Murrell versus John Roca, the 2 GOATs on opposite ends, both alike in dignity. Dan Murrell representing the dungeon, going to be carrying forward throughout the Schmoedown, but John Roca, this being his one last ride, his final match in his career. And just to kick things off, because I don't know how comfortable y'all feel in your picks yet, I'll go ahead. I'll bite the bullet. I'll give my prediction first. And like I said, I know people will call me biased, but I do have a specific reason why I think John Roca is going to be the winner of this match. And I'm going to tell you why. I think Roca has significantly less pressure on him in this match, because even if he loses his final match, like, he's still going out with the big victory of getting this final match. You know what I mean? Where it's like, regardless of if he wins or loses or not, it's just going to be one of the many things etched into his legacy. Whereas Dan Murrell, I feel like, is somebody that we've seen kind of like struggling a little bit with this pressure of being not just a competitor in a very competitive game, but also kind of somebody that is looked at as the greatest of all time, somebody that's always supposed to win, and somebody that hasn't necessarily always been able to get the wins this year. Obviously, he won the title belt right off the bat early on in the year, but then he lost the belt to Ethan Irwin. Danger Zone won one of the 2 teams tournaments that they were in, but weren't able to get to that title match. And then in this singles tournament, Dan wound up taking the loss to Jeannine. I think, obviously, I'm not going to call Dan a bad player, obviously, but I just think Dan right now, he's facing a lot more. There's a lot more on his shoulders, and I think that as much as this match is going to be a little bit of a nice reprieve from that, I still think it's something where Roca is going to have the edge, just not having the same amount of pressure, because they're both good, but I think Roca, relaxed but still focused, is going to win out the day. So that's my thoughts. Boggs, I want to toss it on over to you. Who do you have winning?
Brian makes an interesting point there. I got Dan. He's undefeated in live events. I don't know. So obviously 2 best players for me, all time talking. And, you know, the thing is, Dan has lost, for him, a lot of matches this year, I feel. I think he's lost 2, possibly 3 teams matches. Obviously lost the title to Ethan Irwin, then lost the obviously the recent singles tournament match against Jeannine. I think Roca has lost 2 or 3 times this year as well. So I don't know. It's tough. But I'll go Roca, just because I would like to, when watching Spectacular, I would like to see him win that last match against Dan. I'm sure there's going to be loads of tears. You know, there'll be kind of gushing over each other and giving them their props and stuff, and it'll be fun. But I do want Roca to go off with that win. So yeah, I'll go Roca for now.
It will certainly be as tearful of a post-game interview as the Founding Fathers versus Corruption 1 match was, I'm sure.
I love you, man.
And I got to see it live.
Oh, you got to see?
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. So I'll bounce it on over to you. Who do you have winning this match?
El Outlaw vas a ganar.
There you go. Beautifully said. Sean, I'll bounce it on over to you. What do you have?
Also, the fact that all the 5 matches are spectacular, all going to be 5 rounders, so it's going to be a long day. But also, I think I like the story of both players going into this match. Obviously, Roca being its last match. And Christian, please, if you're watching, you might be, let this be the last match of the night. Whether you air it last is another story, but I think there's just going to be a lot of emotions that are going to be built up afterwards, win or lose for whoever, that it's going to be hard to then move to another match after that. So obviously you could air it in any way you want, but it should be the last match of the night for anyone who's going to be there live, including myself. So, but that's another story. But I love the fact that obviously this is Roca's last match, but I also like the fact that Dan's coming in feeling like a little burnt about losing to Jeannine and feeling like he let the dungeon down, and now they're not in the running for the faction title now. So he feels like he has a little chip on his shoulder. So I like that little edge he had in his post-match interview about like potentially playing this match. So both of them going in, you know, obviously they're both on Mount Rushmore or Mount Schmoedown for me. But I think Roca's got the more drive to win his last match and go out on top and right off into the outlaw sunset to rob some other thing or whatever outlaws do. So I think I'm just going to pick John.
I would like to see like some more cutscenes. Remember what they've done before? That's one of my favorite ones that they've done, the end of Rocky 3 one. when they're like, "There ain't nobody else here," ding ding,
Oh,
and like,
yeah.
that was so much fun. Like Dan, I was like super surprised of how kind of just how good he was in that in particular. Like with Roker, when they teamed up with the kind of Horsemen and Founding Fathers, like they just got so much better with the character stuff and the cutscene stuff. So I kind of want them to do a bit more of that as well. So that'll be super fun.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. And yeah, that's 4-0. Not surprising for an Outlaw Nation show, but we all gave good reasons, I think. So don't just call us biased. Just, we have our own thoughts. Gosh dang it. And hey, let's talk about our own thoughts on the next match.
Well, I was biased, but I was biased in Spanish, so.
There you go. There you go. That's fair. That's fair. See? Nuance, people. Nuance. Next match we're going to be talking about is the Star Wars title match. Thomas Harper of the Den, the current rookie phenom holding that belt, going up against Nikki DiMolanta, the latest rookie phenom in this Star Wars division. And here's how I'll do this, because obviously these are big matches, and I'll take the pressure off of y'all. I want to ask, does anyone want to give their prediction first, or do people want me to go ahead? Sean raised his hand first, so I'll start with him for this one.
I'll let
No, go ahead, Sean.
Okay. This is a tough match, and I was saying before that I think Thomas Harper has a good chance of being Rookie of the Year until Griffin Newman was on this amazing run and probably changed my mind. But I think the winner of this match is going to probably place second in that running behind Griffin Newman. And both Thomas and Nikki have played great. The winner is going to be undefeated. And I picked against Nikki almost in all of her matches, and she's won all of them. But at the same time, I think Thomas Harper has just been so impressive in the matches he's won. Obviously, he beat Andrew for the title, and but I want to pick Nikki. I want to, and I think if she was playing against anybody else, I would pick her. But I'm gonna go Thomas.
There we go. And just to be clear, by Sean's own logic, technically all three of us should now pick Nikki DiMolanta because that's a guaranteed point. But again, I'm getting off topic.
Maybe.
Off topic. I'm now going to start with Soul, who I know is ready with her pick. Soul, I think I might know where you're leaning, but by all means, please.
Swag. No,
that's right. Of course. Winston Marshall.
We're not going to hear
Star
that
Wars
ages,
Star
right?
Wars champion. But I said it before. Who are two players that I never bet against? Chandra Dhanapani, and right now, Nikki DiMolanta. Because I've told you guys how good she is, and people still don't believe me. They're still betting against her. Boggs has bet against her, I think, every time. And what has she proven? She's proven that she's good at this game. She's proven she's great. I love Thomas Harper. I was rooting for him and picking him so much at the beginning of this year. But this is Nikki DiMolanta's to take.
There you go. Fair enough. So we're 1-1 right now. Boggs, I'll toss it on over to you. What do you have?
They're both right. I've picked against Nikki in all of her matches, so I'm going to continue to do so. I have not learnt my lesson. I guess it's a good luck thing. You can say that for her, but I'm going to keep that trend up. I'm going to go Harper.
Well, now we know she's winning.
But, yeah, exactly. But they're both super good rookies, of course. Nikki doesn't miss many questions at all. Neither does Harper, but for some reason, I don't know. From the outset, it looks to me as if he wants it more. It seems like she's playing with a bit of not anxiety, but we'll just see what happens. I'll try my best. But he's like, no, I'm defending. I think I'm taking that into consideration as well. So I'm going to go Harper.
Sure. I mean, both of these two are pros, regardless. We both know, both of them are going to put on a fight, regardless. And yeah, I've been trepidatious about how to give my pick because obviously they're both undefeated currently, and I didn't want to necessarily just go Nikki DiMolanta because of her current streak because I didn't want to go recency bias. You know what I mean? Where I was like, yes, Nikki's obviously playing a lot right now. She's fresh on the mind. I don't want to discredit Thomas Harper, but the thing is, I am going to go with Nikki DiMolanta. Because it sounds like Boggs and Sean picking her is the exact formula I need to get a point. So that's going to be great for me. But also because I do think that right now the Star Wars division is in its own little Wild West period, right? Where I feel like a lot of times when you look at a lot of these divisions, there are very few people who are just like always retaining the belts in any given division, right? Even Dan, the greatest of all time to many, has lost the belt numerous times. You know, he did it this year, even after winning the belt. So I think for me, I'm just kind of like, I keep kind of expecting right now the Star Wars belt to get hot potatoed a little bit, just kind of bounce around. And if there's anyone that I think has the skills to be able to take it right now, I do think it might be Nikki DiMolanta. I think right now, again, because there's that difference between not wanting to go with recency bias, but also wanting to respect momentum. And while definitely Thomas Harper has been able to sit at home and study for this match for quite a few months, Nikki's been doing one of the best ways of studying, which is playing the game and playing, again, a lot of these great competitors, including Alex Damon, right? That former GOAT of the Star Wars division, who Thomas Harper himself has not played yet. So I think it's going to be. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say FCL Star Wars champ says Dimmy all the way.
And see, and if there's anybody I'm willing to tie my cart to, anyone's horse that I'm willing to tie my cart to, it is Brennan Mystical Mar, because he knows the Star Wars soul. I know she knows her competitors, and I'm just the idiot who agrees with them. So that's going to be 2-2.
Well, me and Sean are big idiots by the sound of it.
Hey, we'll see. We'll see. Who knows?
We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes, Boggs. We'll see.
Next up, we're going to be talking about this Innergeekdom title match. And we were a little unsure, but now that we know that Chandra Dandapani will not be getting his shot at the belt before Spectacular, we now know set in stone is Mike the Killer Kalinowski versus Robert the Spider Parker of the Dungeon. I will ask, just because she raised her hand last time, Soul, do you feel like you are ready to give your pick on this match first? Because if not, I'll bounce to somebody else.
Bounce it to someone else.
All right, Sean or Boggs, do either of you feel ready?
Bounce it to someone else. No, I'll do it.
Sean?
Do it.
No, Boggs, if you want to go ahead.
By all means,
no,
Boggs.
I'll go. The truth is, I don't really know. I haven't got a firm pick, but just thinking about it, I guess. By the way, Mike is low-key one of my players of the year, if not player of the year. Think about his wins. Obviously, it was way back, but winning a number one contender match against Alex Damon. Then I think that was this year, right? And then playing Mara for the title, winning, beating Chandru, beating Amaru, and if he beats Parker, he's arguably my player of the year. So, that back-to-back 5-match run or whatever, that is pretty stellar. And obviously having losing to Shazam in overtime as well. Again, great play, and getting a win here and there singles. But I think I'm going to go for Parker, just to see a different champ. And yeah, just to see him against, some newer matches like Parker, against, I don't know, Chandru or Amaru, like in title match, I just kind of would be interesting. I mean, Mike's on my Rushmore. That's undisputable for me. But I just think maybe it might change hands. Parker, he has lost to Chandru this year, but post that match, that tournament run, he just looked lethal. And I think against Chandru, it was like one multiple choice was the difference. So it just looks like he's that locked in. Hasn't played a 5-round at this level, but something, obviously experience is literally all with Mike, but I just think something tells me that Parker might nick it. So I'll go Parker for now.
Fair enough, man. I'll go next, and I'll actually second your thoughts. I'm also going to be going with Robert Parker for this match. There you go. Brennan's holding firm to his belt. I'll tell you, though, about when it comes to this Innergeekdom match here, I think there is something to be said, definitely for Mike being one of the players of the year. But again, also the Innergeekdom belt, I feel like there's a long period of time there. It was just like between Rachel and Mike, where it was just trading it back and forth per title match. You know what I mean? And then Mara came back, and again, we got the same sort of deal. Chandru as well. Like, I feel like, again, like the Innergeekdom belt, like there's always those like select few greats who are like, they're getting that belt and then they'll lose it one day, but then they'll be right back to get it. And I think at this point in time, Robert Parker has really cut his teeth to being the next guy to take it. It's tough because obviously Mike just had not a rough title match, but certainly one where it looked like he really was about to lose it against Amaru Moses. But now, like, part of me kind of wonders, like, oh, does that mean like that was the match where he would lose it? And so now we're going to be getting that extra killer Kalinowski. But I mean, yeah, just looking at like, the fact that Robert Parker was able to finally get that W over Chance, the fact that like the Innergeekdom tournament that we got was like, might have been the most intense tournament as far as question difficulty that I can think about, at least, maybe with the Star Wars, one of those two tournaments, giving them a run for the money. But just looking at what Parker's been able to do, the fact that he is running with Kaiser, who like Kaiser came in off of the strength of being able to give a belt to Kevin Smets. So I think I'm going with Robert Parker. I think this is going to be his event. Sean, who do you have?
I think Boggs is right about Mike being player of the year or a very strong contender for it, especially when I think he's going to win this match. I think, but it also wouldn't surprise me. The Schmoedown Spectacular is in LA. Chandru is in LA. I know he got dropped by Swag. It doesn't mean somebody couldn't snap him up and like they can make it three. Like I'm feeling some kind of shenanigans are gonna happen.
He's gonna have something to do with Spectacular, no doubt.
Yeah, I think he's gonna end up being there some way somehow. Whether he gets in this match somewhere somehow is another story. But
Sean's pick is Chandru.
Well, I can't officially pick him yet because he's not in it. But I feel some shenanigans are gonna happen. I don't think it's just gonna be these 5 matches cut and dry. And I think this is the one where some shenanigans can come into play. But as it stands right now, Parker versus Mike. Mike's having a hell of a year, and I just think Parker's obviously a great player, but I think Mike is on that top echelon. For me, it's Roka, Dan, Mike, and Rachel on my Mount Rushmore. So, and I think if he wins this match, this specific match, I think he's unquestionably has to be on anybody's Mount Rushmore, considering him defending the IG title as much as he has, obviously winning teams, what he does in the singles league. I think it's unquestionable that he has to be on everybody's Mount Rushmore if he wins this match, and I think he will.
There you go. Fair enough. And then Soul, bouncing on over back to you. What do you have?
Hey, since I'm flip-flopping with this, I'm going to go with a person who I know has only seen like 3 matches of the movie Trivia Schmoedown. That's Bryant Brawler in the chat. He's picking Mike. I guess I'm going to go with that. I'm going Mike Kalinowski.
Wow. There you go. Fair enough. That's an interesting strategy. Hey, fair enough. I don't even know. Okay. Hey, fair enough. Lord knows.
Hey, that's my coin. That's my coin flip.
Lord knows I've made picks in this game of ours for weirder reasons. So that's fair. Can't fault you for that. As we look next to our team's title match. And this is we talked about this one a little bit earlier. Shazam, the current reigning and defending team's champs, who are about to potentially tie the Patriots record for title defenses, but to do that they would have to beat King Arthur, the Finstock Exchange rookie team of Griffey Arthur Nooms and King Khan. So again, I'll ask, does anyone feel ready to give their pick? Oh, Sean's quick on the draw here. All right, Sean, what do you have?
Yeah, I already know what my next 2 picks are going to be, and I think for this one, I think it's going to have to be King Arthur, only because I think Nooms and Khan are on such a roll, and listening to the Barbarian, fuck the league. The year is not over for him. He's doing some Rocky training with them and like getting them ready, and I think they're going to be ready. And the momentum that they're on, and this is not to say that obviously Shazam had a great year as well, but I just think that this is especially Griffey Nooms' year, and I think he's going to go undefeated. So you can already know where I'm going to go with my next pick, and be Rookie of the Year and potentially Player of the Year. So with that being said, I think King Arthur is, and I think it still would be considered an upset if they do beat Shazam. So I'm saying they're going to be the upset, and they're going to leave with the team's title beating Shazam.
That's fair. I will go ahead next and say that I'm also picking King Arthur. And part of my reason for that will come into play for the next match. But yeah, I think especially with like I do want the spectacular curse to be broken for Shazam because I'd hate for that to be looming over their heads for their whole careers. But I mean, it is a thing. It is a thing, certainly. And yeah, I mean, obviously, Shazam has killed it this year, and they've had to defend against some tough teams. But, like, again, I got to look at it sort of like how we have that Wild West situation right now with Star Wars, how I was just talking about with the Innergeekdom belt. It's always super hard to retain. And right now, part of the reason why Shazam is about to break a record is because it's very difficult to defend that belt. And, you know, they managed to do it against Corruption. They managed to do it against Lightning Time. But I feel like, especially considering that the last title match was kind of like looking a little bit tense up until that speed round. And you know, as good as Shazam is at the speed round, as Malcolm actually just popped in and said as well, just as I was thinking it, Malcolm put it into words. That is correct. But yeah, I mean, just even again, just still, it's not quite equitable. But again, thinking about that fast money, like I feel like Griffey is gonna be able to have some quick pull as well. And I like the way that I feel like Khan and Griffey are able to fill each other's weak spots. Where I do feel like Bibbiani and Brendan, they do still have a fair amount of crossover. It feels like, again, I'm not any of these four actual players, so I can't say with any certainty exactly who knows how much of what. All I know is that in my attempt to try and pick a winner, I'm going with King Arthur. Boggs, I'll bounce it on over to you, unless you feel like you have to bounce it on over to Soul. But do you feel ready to give your pick?
As ladies first, if you want, Soul.
I have my pick.
Okay, go ahead.
There we
I'm
go.
also going with King Arthur.
Wow, spicy.
Because earlier this year, in one of Shazam's promos, said, "What is the rule? We only lose the spectacular." They spoke it into existence. I feel they spoke it into existence, and I think King Arthur is, because they didn't bring no one else is bringing attention to that. They did, and so I think they spoke it into existence.
There you go. Fair enough. And Boggs, that means it's down to you. Is it gonna be 4-0 over here for the ultimate Schmoedown Aftershow for King Arthur, or do you think you're gonna give it to the defending champs?
I mean, firstly, it is 2 weeks today, right? I feel like there's a lot of time to change my mind, but anyway.
No, it's gotta be now.
Okay, so what I will say, to be honest, I want King Arthur to win because I can just envision them on stage, you know, and how happy the Finstock team will be if two rookies, particularly these two, win that title. It would be so fun. But I will go with Shazam to defend. Much more experience than King Arthur. King Arthur have not played a team of, as far as I'm aware, a team of former champs, or you know, like an elder team, you know, as they say. But I think they beat Final Exam, correct?
I believe so. Yeah. Hold on. I have the team's bracket saved somewhere.
Okay. But yeah, they just not at that level in terms of experience yet. But I can't. Having said that, I do kind of want them to win just for the kind of uniqueness of that. But I will say I can definitely agree with Malcolm there in the chat. Speed round, you know, just so much live experience. You know, I know we can't in teams matches. It can sometimes come down to one player, and I think it's kind of down to King Arthur. How's he going to do in the first round? We've seen, you know, in his last team match, didn't have the strongest round one. You know, previously he has had stronger round ones. You know, how's he kind of, because we know others have done well in singles tournaments, you know, former champ in Shazam, Griffin Newman, you know, look how well he's doing. It's kind of up to him, I feel like. You got to match them. So we'll see. But based on experience, I think that in my head, the common sense thing is to go with Shazam. But like I said, I want King Arthur to win. But I think Shazam will defend.
Sure. I will say this, though. They have faced an older team of champions, that being Deception. That was their round 2 match that they played in the tournament. Which, not that has to change your mind. I was just like, oh, just in case anyone fact checks us, I'll fact check us as well.
Who do you say? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Deception.
Deception.
Yes,
okay.
Collins and Marisol. Speaking of, that brings us to our hypothetically final match of the night, rather. That being the singles title match between the rookie phenom Griffin Newman and the defending champion Marisol McKee. I am, of course, going to start talking about this one because, gang, there's no world I bet against Marisol. There's no world. And Griffey, he's a fantastic player, 10-0. That's absurd. That's a crazy record. And I wanted to make sure, if nothing else, I gave him that win alongside his partner King Khan because I don't see him going 2-0. I don't see him beating Marisol, especially when it comes down to that one-on-one type of pressure. You're right, Boggs. We've been seeing Griffey have to fight harder and harder for these wins, and going up, especially when it's purely one-on-one. Like, he's not going to be able to have King Khan to fill in any potential blind spots. So it's going to really be him going up against somebody who has also been put through the ringer, somebody that also had to beat family to hold that belt, having to face Chance Ellison. Her last singles match being a fully live match as well with those speed round buzzers. I know I'm going to kind of contradict myself here in picking against Griffey in this match when I picked for him in the last one. But this is one where I think experience plays into it. This is one where I think just some of that mental fatigue of this division in particular might feed into it. Just the pressures of having to go 1v1 because, I think Griffey's great, but he's been very open about the fact where it's like, yeah, these are definitely getting harder. There's a lot more like fatigue that goes in. And Marisol, I mean, on top of being great, I just think that she's been so focused this year in particular. She just got herself a dang trading card, huh? She's not going to lose now with a trading card. I don't buy it. Marisol McKee is going to be keeping that belt. I'll ask now, between the three of you, do any of the three of you feel ready? Soul absolutely does not. Sean feels ready. So
I'll go. So it's funny how you mentioned Marisol. Like, last match was against Chance at a live event. So was Griffin Newman. He was there as well.
He was at that exact same event.
Exactly. He looked calm, collected. He crushed. And because of that, I feel very confident in saying that I do think he will go 2-0, and I do think he'll leave Spectacular double belted and cementing his place as Rookie of the Year and probably Player of the Year, because I do see the momentum that he's gotten, and I think with the Barbarian and the Finstock Exchange training him and King Kong up, I think he's going to be ready. And because he's had that experience already in a live event and being so not being caught up in the moment, I think with that and his momentum, I think he might be a little bit more positioned to win the match. Not that Marisol isn't hungry, but I think the fact that she's won the belt, A, and B, defended the belt already, takes a little bit of pressure off her. So I think she's coming in in Spectacular with house money because she's already defended. Like, that's the thing about in this league. When you get the belt, defend the belt, and that kind of cements your legacy a little bit. So I think with that being said, I think maybe because that she might, not to say she is, coming in like with nothing else really to prove, where Griffin Newman has the potential to go undefeated and be double belted. So, and as long as Christian spaces out the two matches, like, it's not like he's doing two matches right next to each other. Like, if the team's match is first and this match is last or fourth, as long as he has enough time to breathe in between, I think he's going to have enough time to collect himself, and I think he'll end up winning the match.
There you go. Fair enough. We are 1-1 right now for this singles title match. I'll ask you, Boggs, do you feel ready to talk about this match?
Of course, yeah, always ready. So I would like to see like a 2-belt champion at Spectacular. That would be so cool, especially the run that he's been on. But just kind of confirming what you've said there, John, where, Marisol, she does have obviously the title experience. Clearly, obviously, Nooms hasn't got that. But, against his last two matches, what I will say, he is so fast and he's such a good player. But in his last two matches, they were come from behind wins, which is good attributes to have. But against the Barbarian, he was so many points down going into the fourth. I feel like Barbarian kind of messed that up. Same with Bibbs as well. He was also down against Bibbs. Bibbs missed his 3, which went to sudden death, and then he won fair and square, of course. But I feel like he was losing. I just can't envision Marisol giving up a lead. She very well could do, but I just predicting the match, thoughts into it. I've not seen her do that yet when she's had a lead to give it up. Well, not in singles anyway. So I've not seen that happen. So I don't think that will happen. So I'm going to say Marisol based on my own kind of weird thought process. But I do at the same time, I've picked against Nooms both matches here, but I do fully want to see him be a double belt champion. So I'm kind of a bit conflicted here. Like I said, there's 2 weeks. I might change my mind last minute. So.
Yeah.
No, Boggs, these are written in blood. No changing of the mind.
That's the thing with spectacular matches, gang, is that like every answer is a hard answer. You know what I mean?
Fully.
So like, give us some credit, all right? Please. Not that any of you are giving us any guff. You're all wonderful. I see Justin and Drunken Prayer making Philly mascot jokes. You know, I love that. You know, I'm all about that. Soul, I'm also all about your answer to this question. You've had a sec. You've heard the arguments. Where does your heart rest?
I'm just thinking about the storylines of both competitors. You have Marisol McKee, the first woman to have the singles belt, to have a second defense on her record. Oh, that would be so amazing. And Griffin Newman, I picked King Arthur. He double belted in your rookie year. And then I was looking at the points. I'm conflicted. I don't know who's going to win.
At the points.
I don't know who's going to win. I want both of them to win. But looking at the points, if Boggs and I pick differently, and I go perfect, we tie for first place. So I'm going with that. I'm going Griffin Newman because I want to tie for first place.
Okay.
It comes down to this.
There you go. Now it's time for our show, Civil War.
So the interesting thing is, me and Soul have the exact same picks except for the Star Wars match. So between the two of us, that match is the only match that would be different between the two of us. So that'd be interesting as well.
And I'm gonna lose.
Well, we never really decided what the team, what the winner gets in the
before I was picking with my heart. This one, like my heart goes to both. And I also I can't split it in two and have both win. So I have to go with the point values for me.
No, that's 100% legit. Well, gang, that means that's going to be it for this episode of the Ultimate Schmoedown Aftershow. Thank y'all so much for watching and commenting along. Soul, have you been Bateman this whole time as much as you've hated him? Have you become everything you've hated?
Let's hope not.
Did the Joker beat you, Batman?
You don't know how I got these scars?
Yes, thank you so much, Malcolm, Jeremy, Brian, Drunken Prayer, Ambling Soul, Roberto, Justin, Brennan, Leo, Bryant, everybody else. I can only scroll up so far because we only got so much time for me to read out everybody. But thank you.
Oh, you didn't name Tushka. Wow.
No.
You're on Boggs' side of the beef.
He did it on Boggs' behalf.
Oh, please. I'm so sorry, Tushka. Please don't. No. I don't want the beef. I don't want it. I can't handle it. Gang, thank you so much for watching this episode. You keep up ending my outro, Sean. We want to thank everybody. Oh, come on, Soul, you too? Thank you so much. I was like, no interruptions. Good. Thank you so much to everybody who watched along. Ryko earlier, thank you so much for the Streamlab. Any money you can toss our way, gang, we always appreciate it. Obviously, the best avenue for that being the Patreon, because that way you're not just giving us money, you're giving money to everything that happens on this channel, and you get to be a part of it. But also, don't feel like you gotta. You're never obligated to give us money. Your viewage is enough. Commenting along is enough. And if you just have a moment to spare, go ahead and leave another comment under this video once it's no longer live. Toss a like, toss a subscribe. We really appreciate it. I'm going to now bring it around the horn to our final plug. Starting with you, Soul, is there anything you would like the people at home to check out?
When you said toss a like, toss a subscribe, my head went toss a coin to your Witcher.
Yeah. I thought about trying to do a joke, but I didn't because I'm silly.
Yeah, just check me out at SoulGovin on Twitter, at Soul_Govin on Instagram, and check out Pop Culture Universe.
There you go. Fair enough, Boggs. I will toss it on over to you next, Tier Witcher. Is there anything you would like to plug?
I value plenty. I was gonna sing it, but I wasn't brave enough. But
Aw.
I will say, just confirm. I don't believe that there's a show next week. Is that correct, John?
I believe that is true. There will probably not be an episode of this show next week. So if you see us next week, hey,
Features
fun
on-
surprise.
Is it Valentine's Day weekend or something? What is it?
Two-thirds of this panel will be celebrating Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. That's the
Yes.
one. Yes. So yeah, everyone, I guess, have a good holiday or whatever. That won't be it's a regular weekend for me, but yeah. So there's that. I will say as well, the Ultimate Schmoedown Aftershow will be represented at Spectacular. I don't know if we're not actually mentioned it. John will be there, of course. John Barr, that is, as well as John Roker, but John Barr will be there, and Sean will also be there. They'll be charging $15 per photo. You can send in Streamline Super. No, I'm just playing, of course. But no, they will definitely be there. Absolutely.
Boggs is
representing
20. I'm just kidding. No, it's not.
15 for you, 20 for John. That's completely fair. But yeah, we're taking deposits now. But no, just playing. They are definitely going to be there, so we'll be represented. So we'll see all there. We do have a booth there. We definitely don't. I'm just playing. But no, they'll be there. Say hi, whatever. Take loads of pictures. Tag us in. Post it on Twitter or whatever, so I can see. Being here, I'm missing out. But yeah, if we don't see you guys for Spectacular, enjoy everyone, and I'm sure you, John and Sean, will represent as well. So
We'll certainly do our best. I promise not to get too drunk until after the show. I'm kidding. But yes, gang, you can check me and Sean out. We'll be wandering around the Spectacular before sitting down and then watching it and then being up and about somewhere else. But you'll be able to check us out there. So hopefully we'll have some fun content for you in one way or another post-Spectacular. But hey, in the meantime, you can check me out. I'm at John Barr Tweets on Twitter and Instagram. TikTok at John_Barr. That's a thing I have to have as somebody is in the Indian industry, which is a super fun thing. I love having to learn new apps every 2 goddamn years. It's always great. And then also Twitch, twitch.tv/John Barr. I just streamed again for the first time in months on Thursday. I did a little No Way Home trailer reaction. I talked a little bit about that Warner Brothers fighting game. I talk about things you might like, so you could check it out there. That's going to be it. Tushka, I have some bad news. You might have missed the entirety of the show. Just the whole dang thing. I feel like you commented at one point, though. He was in there at some point. But welcome, Tushka, to where everyone else is, which is the end of the episode. Thank you all so much for watching. We will not see you next week, but also then not the week after because we'll be at Spectac. Who knows? We'll be back, all right? We promise. Look for us early December. That is going to be it for us for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. I've said that 5 times. Have a lovely rest of your evening. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time to talk some Schmoedown.
Toss a coin to your witcher.
I still need to watch that anime movie.
I
gotta watch the anime movie.
movie.